Did you know that a 20-minute walk outside can boost your T-cell production, hence making your immune system stronger? Hi, I'm Angel, by the way. Thanks for stopping by. Adjust this a little bit. I've been listening to various scientists and doctors and most of my life dealing with my own health, as we all are dealing with our own health, right? I was diagnosed early on in my life with an incurable autoimmune disorder, and that manifested in various ways throughout my life, and that led me to take more personal responsibility for my own health, as doctors I was seeing were unable to offer me any solutions other than just dying young. And some of the latest research, in particular in the last 10 years since the Human Genome Project mapped out the human gene sequences, some of the exciting findings, scientific findings of the last 10 to 20 years, 10 years in particular, have found that we are more non-human than we used to think. So a large percentage of our fabric is actually viruses and bacteria. And also our immune systems, this goes back a little further than the last 10 or 20 years, but throughout the study of the immune system, we have come to find that the immune system plays a big role in lots of what is commonly these days called housekeeping activities in the body. So I think a lot of us think of the immune system as like, often it's described as our little warriors, our little fighter cells, like the T cells, which come out in response to an invader, basically. And we think of it like we get a virus or bacteria, and then our immune system gets activated and attacks that invader and hopefully wins, and then we get better, right? Or if it loses, then we die. But actually, the immune system is active all the time, always housekeeping, always cleaning up. You have cells dying all the time, continuously, and new cells being created. And a big part of the immune system's job is to clean up debris, and it also serves a lot of other functions, which we are just beginning to understand. But also, it used to be commonly thought that you couldn't really change your immune system. Well, the phrase that's commonly used is you can't change your immunity overnight. However, that's not true. That's been shown in various ways not to be true. That's one of the reasons that vaccines tend to work, right? Although usually not overnight, but sort of, like changes start to happen really rapidly as soon as you get a vaccine. But that's just one tiny example. Another example is that a 20-minute walk or 20 minutes of movement can activate and increase your T-cell production. And I guess early on in my experiences with autoimmune disease, I thought that activating my immune system was going to create more inflammation as my body was attacking itself. However, I've come to understand that the body doesn't really attack itself. It's always responding in the best way it knows how to what it perceives is going on. And that perception is based on many, many factors, only a few of which do we understand. But one that we're coming to understand more is our thoughts and our beliefs and our feelings. That creates a chemical cocktail, as it's often called, or a chemical cascade in the body, depending on whether we're happy or sad or angry or feeling hopeful or feeling dread. All of those create different chemical combinations, and all those different chemical combinations influence the immune system in various ways. Again, we're just beginning to understand all of this, and I don't see any end in sight in our exploration of that. So I'm not trying to lead you to believe I have all the answers or fully understand the immune system, because I don't think anyone really does. But what I want to bring attention to is that there are many ways to make yourself healthier. And also that your body, your environment, including your inner environment and your body, is chock full of viruses and bacteria all the time. And most of the time, they don't have a negative impact. Or if they do, it's very minor. And in fact, a lot of them actually have positive, what could be considered positive impact on us. For example, it's bacteria in our gut which digests our food, which gives us nourishment, just as one rather big example. So the point of all this is just that viruses and bacteria are co-evolutionary factors in our existence. In fact, they've been around on this planet longer than we have, and sometimes I think we're just basically like meat machines created by viruses and bacteria in order to get around on this planet. But that's another topic for another day. The main point I want to get to tonight or today is that right now we're in a global pandemic and people are afraid, understandably so, because they're being bombarded by largely misinformation, but data and information that's largely disconnected and a lot of times misquoted. If you really go into some of the studies about mask wearing, for example, and viruses, you start to put together a different picture than the one that is being talked about in the mainstream media. That said, again, a topic for another day perhaps. What I want to focus on is that whether you're in a global pandemic or not, which we happen to be right now, it's always a good time to keep your body as healthy as it can be. And perhaps especially when there's a pandemic going around with a new virus, because people who are the most affected by the virus or any virus are people whose immune systems are weak or struggling or overwhelmed, basically, or compromised in some way. And one of the great easy ways to enhance your immune system is movement. The human body is made to move. It's really all this evolutionary process of the human body has included movement. And just in the last, really in the last 20 or 40 years, we've become super sedentary. Maybe in the last 100 years, more and more sedentary. But certainly in the latter half of my lifetime, as I approach 50, I can see a sharp decline in the movement that humans are getting and an increase in just sitting, watching screens, or even when we're moving around, the movement is less. I do stretch and strengthen sessions on a regular basis and invite people to join me online, and it is kind of disheartening sometimes to realize how little people move and how unflexible and weak a lot of people are because they don't move very often anymore. So I am getting on a renewed vim and vigor toward trying to encourage you and everyone, including me, to move more. Another big factor is how we think. Like stress can be a real negative, and there's a lot of research to support that. But stress can also be beneficial. Like stressing muscles is actually how we build stronger muscles, right? So there's like good stress and bad stress, if you want to be simplistic about it. And a lot of whether stress is good or bad has to do with how we're thinking about it, how we're feeling about it, and then of course how we're reacting to it. But the chemical cascade in the body that happens in response to stress can be a positive thing or it can be a negative thing. It can enhance the immune system, as in like make it stronger, or it can overwhelm or detract from the immune system. So having a positive mindset is something I've been preaching about for a number of years now, and I think at first maybe a lot of people who listen to me, and probably still a lot of people, think that that's maybe just Pollyannaism or wishful thinking, but there is hard science, good data to back up the fact, my claim and many people's claim, that positive thinking, reframing things in a positive way when you find yourself stressing or when you find yourself telling a negative story about something that's going on that's making you start to feel that clenching up or that anxiety. When you can change anxiety to excitement, when you can change the story that you're playing in your mind to something more positive from something more negative, that actually has really really concrete positive impact on your immune system and hence on your life. So movement, positive thinking, and last but not least, I just want to mention nutrition, including drinking clean water. And probably the biggest factor facing us right now in nutrition is overconsumption. So you can eat the best things in the world, but if you're eating too much of it, the body does not have a chance to heal, to clear out that debris that I mentioned earlier, and to process the nutrients that you're putting in a way that benefits you. So one part of the equation is certainly what you're putting in your body, and of course I'm sure you've heard it other places, but I will reiterate, you want diverse, colorful foods. Fiber is super important for those gut bacteria, so, but not just any kind of fiber. You want diverse kinds of fiber. We're just starting to learn about the microbiome. There's a lot to learn there, and I think we'll be at it for a good while, unless AI takes us along quicker than we can expect, which could be the case. I am routinely surprised lately by how technology is moving us forward. And yet, even as it's moving us forward, there's still as much that we don't know as there ever was. So basically, the more we learn, the more we see that we don't know. And I believe that's going to be true of the microbiome as well. But long-standing wisdom and new data all supports the idea of eating a diverse, mostly plant-based diet. I still eat meat. I eat a lot of fish, and I eat some red meat and some chicken, and I think that's a personal choice that all of us get to make. Now, I do my best to find humanely raised or wild-caught animals when I eat animals, and I think there's growing information about monoculture agriculture that's not done in the most humane way either, where a lot of the microbes in the soil and the wildlife in an area and the diversity of plants is being wiped away in order to create large amounts of certain grains and plants that we tend to favor. So diverse diet, try new things, try many colors of things, and shake it up a little bit. Don't just eat one thing. Don't get stuck in a rut and eat the same thing over and over and over again. Try diversifying your diet, just like you should diversify your financial portfolio, and we should diversify our population in any given institution. I believe it's super important also to diversify the nutrients that you put in your body, and there's plenty of data to back that up. So diverse nourishment and not too much of it. I think this is the first time in human history that we know of where overconsumption has been more of an issue than starvation. Of course, starvation is still an issue in some parts of the world, and it may become, even though starvation isn't really an issue in my country here in the United States, malnutrition is an increasing issue. And so I think just eating food to fill your belly that isn't healthy, that isn't diverse, that isn't colorful, is bad for the body. And also, as I mentioned earlier, even eating diverse foods, if you're over consuming them, as I often do, this is something I'm working on, improving in my own life. It's shown that back to where I started with the immune system, when you fast for as little as 12 hours, which used to be the norm, you would eat dinner by 8 o'clock and eat breakfast at 8 a.m. and have at least 12 hours in there where you're not eating. And we used to eat, when I was a kid, 3 meals a day was the standard. Now, here in America, we're eating like 15 times a day, many people, if you count all the snacks. And I am as guilty as anyone of that. But I think there's ample data to show that overconsumption damages the immune system. It just doesn't give the immune system the breathing room that it needs, literally and metaphorically, to go about that housekeeping business of getting rid of dead cells, of helping to process nutrients, of sending the right signals to the right places. So just to sum up this kind of longer than I expected ramble, I encourage you to move your body. Walk outside at least 20 minutes a day. I like to do about 3 20-minute sessions every day of movement. Some days I do better than others, but I think that's underappreciated how important that movement is for the human body. And the other thing is, eat healthy, eat diverse, nutritious food, and don't eat too much of it. Give your system a break for at least half the day. If not, I'm an advocate of like once a week, at least mostly fasting, or maybe like today I just cut out sugar and I didn't fast at all, but I went the one day without sweetness, and I find that it's helpful to cut out one thing or a group of things for a period of time, just to both shake things up, keep myself aware of what I'm eating, so I'm not just blindly consuming or unconsciously consuming. And then the third really important thing is your state of mind, how you're thinking about things, how you're dealing with stress really is a huge factor in determining whether that stress is going to be beneficial to you and your immune system, or whether it's going to be harmful to you and your immune system. And I think it's always been important, but it's more important than ever to be healthy. We're all connected, and so when I'm taking care of myself, it's not a selfish act, it's for all of us. And when I encourage you to take care of yourself, it's partly a selfish act on my part, because again, we're all connected. So we're all co-creating this existence, this society. More and more we're covering this whole globe. We're impacting other species at an alarming rate for largely unconscious beings. So I think it's really important, and I'm more passionate than ever about encouraging you and me to take better care of ourselves, live more healthily, play more, because playfulness is a great way to get you in that positive mindset to create a more beneficial chemical cascade in your body. I'm going to wrap that up there. I welcome your questions and comments. I am aware that that's a little rambly, but I'm gonna just move forward anyhow from there. There are many, many wiser people than me and more articulate people than me speaking about these topics, and I'd be happy to pass along some references if you're interested. Put any of your questions in the questions and comments section down below. As always, you can find lots of information about me in the description, including ways to connect with me, some products that I have for sale if you want to support me. And I thank you if you do support me in any way. I thank you if you leave a comment, and I wish you lightheartedness, playfulness, love, laughter, peaceful conflict resolution. Don't forget to play every day and move your body and drive forward.